F1 2020, baby! Sorry, I couldn't resist doing like the really obnoxious introduction. I don't know why it came to mind. But hey guys, Jimmy here. And welcome back to another video. In today's video, we are celebrating Codemasters making their annual mistake and sending me a preview to their upcoming F1 title, F1 2020. You could say Christmas has come early, which is why I'm wearing my very fashionable winter pajamas. That twinned with my virgin hat means that I'm going to be safe from all women forever. Now, the version of the game they have sent me is wholly incomplete. It's definitely a work in progress, and there are a lot of things that I'm not allowed to show on camera just yet. But I thought, given that I'm still allowed to drive and do a couple of laps and talk about it, I thought I would do that. Do a time trial in a car, at a track, speak about how it feels, especially compared to last year. And given that I've been doing a lot of stuff in F1 2019 recently with the virtual GP, I'm actually quite clued up on how that game drives, so this will be hopefully a good comparison. Just before we get into that though, I'm going to do a very quickly, increasingly unrare self-shill and say that if you are currently a YouTube Premium member, whatever the hell they call it nowadays, you have the option to join the channel as a channel member for free for a month, and I get the standard revenue from that. If you want to help out the channel, click join below. If not, then F1 2020 time. So yes, on my screen for the first time in 2020, F1 2020. And as you can see, of course, all the new cars have their new liveries, nice and sexy. I love that Alpha Tauri one, by the way. And the Williams looks like a slightly less slow car this year, which is good. But the car I'm going to be driving today is the Racing Point car, because they've been really nice to me in the virtual GP and not kicked me off their team yet, which is hopefully a statement that will age well. In terms of circuits, whilst we do have a couple to choose from here, I'm only allowed to drive a couple of them. Luckily for me, one of those circuits is Zandvoort, the new layout, which I don't think I've actually driven before. And whilst I'm aware that every other YouTuber is probably going to be doing this video, I've noticed in the top left-hand corner we can also pick a wet circuit. So what say we do a couple laps on the dry and a couple laps on the wet? Right, let's get out on track then in our Racing Point car here at Zandvoort. New layout, of course, waiting for the car control to be given to me using my direct drive wheel, which has no force feedback right now. Oh, I didn't turn it on. That's why. Clever Jimmy. You know, sometimes my professionalism, it shocks even me. It really does. I have no idea I got this far as a YouTuber. But anyway, on to the subject at hand, F1 2020. Here we are in the Racing Point F1 car at Zandvoort. Let's talk about that quickly, Zandvoort. Now, I was told in a Discord press conference thing, I don't really know what it was, I was just in it, that apparently this Zandvoort is made with LiDAR data and scans, so really it's probably the most accurate track we have, or have had in an F1 game to date, which is good to see these guys going in that direction, because Spa exists. Codemasters Spa is probably one of the most cursed circuits I've ever seen, so if they're going to go this way with their track design, then that's a good thing. So hopefully they'll continue and then kind of update other tracks with that. But I guess you guys want to hear more about the driving, because I guess some people care about my opinion on that for some reason. I still haven't figured out why. So we're in time trial mode first of all, which is the only mode that I'm allowed to drive in and show you, so that's what we're in. Which means that we don't really have an idea of how this car specifically drives yet. This is just only kind of... This is essentially a Mercedes, which I guess I shouldn't say. But that's how time trials always worked in the Codemasters games. Every car is the fastest car. So, you know, we can't really judge the individual car based on that. But in terms of how this car is driving at the moment, I'm kind of happy to say that I've not really felt much of that annoying lateral slide that sort of plagued the older games. I haven't felt it yet. Doesn't mean it doesn't exist, because this kind of happened last year as well for me. When you start pushing the game, you start feeling issues a bit more. What that means, you go into a corner, maybe overcook it slightly, and still having kind of, you know, the ability to kind of catch it and gather it up. The car will just do this weird slide like that across the course, and you just end up losing time and losing tyre and losing sanity. And yeah, luckily I don't seem to have seen that so far. Something that has carried over though is what I call downshift to rotate, which is something that is a big thing in competitive F1, it seems. Is that you have to really be in the lowest gear possible to rotate the car. See that first gear there, you would never use first in real life, but you use it to kick the car around and get that extra little bit of rotation. It's a little bit of a trick that's come from the last game. The only upside to that, and I know I'm talking to probably quite a small audience now, is that it's easier to do that, and you don't have as big a kick from the rear of the car when you're trying to turn it around either. Easy into there. But in terms of driving, it does feel mostly the same. I am using my direct drive wheel. If anything, it feels a bit more planted than it did in the last couple of years. I always felt it was my theory that was never really proven, or disproven I should say, that the cars don't actually have downforce, just tyre grip that increases. And it kind of felt like that in the last game a bit. It doesn't feel that way at the moment. It feels like the car is actually stuck to the ground through there, as there's no sort of slide, especially through here as well, where it would usually be very easy to get the car sliding on the throttle. It feels quite good through there, which is nice so far. Everything's running okay as well. We're running in the ultra settings in 1440p. Running really nicely whilst being captured as well, so performance, which is something else that plagued some of the old games, seem to be doing okay so far. But of course, this is still a work in progress. Things could change for the better or for the worse. We don't really know yet. You know what, I'm going to try and be quiet for a second, give you guys a quiet lap of here. Then we'll move into some wet driving.
That last lap was a 1:12.7.
Not too bad. Not too bad. Also, Jeff's back, as you can see, and you can still talk to Jeff from what I hear. But anyway, that is Zandvoort in the dry. Shall we see if we can drive it in the wet and fully embarrass ourselves? I think we should. Oh man, wet weather time. Now, I haven't driven this in the wet yet. I did drive it in the dry before recording earlier on, so I have no idea how this is going to be. Now, wet driving in the Cody's games isn't bad. It could be better. Oh man, there's a big dose of chunder steer going for the last corner there, and this game looks nice in the wet, I can tell you that. Down there in the main straight, I have no idea where to brake here. Let's try 150. Oh, she lumber. Oh god, she also slide. Forcing back a bit slow to respond there with that slide. I felt like I felt it after it happened. Easy, easy. Chuck her back in. It's still fun. Oh my man, we're sliding in 5th gear. Come on, downforce, take over. Thank you very much. Come on, downforce. Downforce is my saviour. She'd be sliding. But you see what I mean? You can kind of keep that slide going a bit longer now on the rear tyre. It's a bit more representative of what you expect in real life. Having some sort of control over the rear of the car and throttle. Whereas before you just became a bit of a passenger. Not to say, of course, these things are drift machines. They definitely aren't. But there is a level of controllability. And I think we've been given that in this title so far. These, of course, are just initial impressions. They might change. They might just even be placebo. But that's kind of what my brain is telling me. Oh, man, this is rad. Should we try the cockpit view? Oh man, that halo is in the way. This is why I usually turn it off. I think the option is there to turn it off. Oh, Jesus Christ. Oh, out wide there onto the very wet stuff. It does seem that we are still driving on just what is the dry line. I don't think they're any game has the proper wet driving down yet, but it's still nice to have the option that it's there, and it can definitely come and change races. Easy now. Coming very close to committing a big crunch every time I do anything here. There you go. Nice and easy on the way in. That's what she said. So you can just plant the throttle there on exit and just control the oversteer. Oh no. I'm having more fun drifting at the moment. Yeah, I mean, like, if we oh god, it kind of feels very similar. Whew. It feels quite similar to last year's game in terms of.
26.5.
Oh mate, we're second in the world, mate. Let's go get that first place. We can get first. I think anyone else has tried this in the wet yet. Everyone's doing it in the dry, but me, of course. The idiot child has to do things the difficult way. Let's go be first in the world. I want to be a world record holder in F1. Let's do it. Come on now. I've got to stop faffing about and stop doing big skids. I said stop doing big skids. I said stop doing big skids. Just not listening to myself, man. Bad. There you go. Now half a second up, because I'm not being a moron. Well, not intentionally anyway. There you go. Let's not have a big slide out of here. There's a big bump right there. Codemaster's bump, I call it. Come on, give me that world record. World record, baby! So whatever happens, guys, whatever happens in this game in the future, I am, at this point in time, a world record holder in F1 2020. It doesn't matter that the game's not out yet, alright? It doesn't matter. Shut up. So yeah, that was my first drive in F1 2020, and I gotta say, it handles nicely. It's kind of a refinement of last year's driving. A couple of the annoying things taken out and a couple of good things put in, it seems. But it still very much definitely isn't a hardcore simulator. That's not what the game has ever really tried to be, I don't think. So don't go in looking for that hardcore sim experience, but I think you can still have a lot of fun with this game. I'm interested to see how it improves during the rest of its development. But yeah, guys, hope you enjoyed the video. I know there was only really one track and one car, but that's kind of the limit of what I'm allowed to show you right now in game. When I'm allowed to show you more, I will. If you did enjoy the video, I'd appreciate you just tapping the like button, maybe subscribing as well as hitting that bell notification icon. And I've got to say a big thank you to Codemasters for letting me play this game early, as well as my Patreons and sponsors. Thank you very much, guys. Take care, have an awesome day. I'll see you all next time.